to the DMF. I am your host, Justin Yachts, and this is episode 41. And I'm talking about The Last Dance. And I bring on my good friend, Charles Delrose. And we talk at length about Jerry Krause. Could they have won another championship? So, enjoy. Okay, so I am here with Charles Delrose, and we are going to be talking about The Last Dance. How are you doing, Charles?
I'm doing fine, man.
Awesome. So what did you think of The Last Dance overall? I mean, where does this rank in terms of documentaries for you?
Hmm. I would say it's pretty up there. I I wouldn't put it at the very top,
Hmm.
but I would put it up there. The simple fact that it's very biased to Michael Jordan, even though I do agree with the bottom line of the documentary that he's the greatest and etc. Um, the best documentaries, in my opinion, are the ones that tell you what the guy doesn't want to tell you.
I agree. I
And
agree.
and I know some people say, "Oh, but they talk about the Republicans." Okay, yeah, but I mean, it wasn't told in depth and in detail. It was basically like a 5 minute shame fest for
Yeah.
what really, like, it's one of the quotes that define his career.
What do you mean? Like,
In a sense, well, because people always do the comparison with Michael Jordan and, let's say, LeBron James.
yeah.
And something that nobody can say about LeBron James is that he has always been one of the first to lead and to speaking about politics and standing up when the situation calls for it. Something that, I mean, honestly, a lot of the athletes from that generation, the '90s generation, really wasn't doing.
So do you think Jordan should have done more of like the because it seemed like Jordan had the mentality of like, look, I'm just a player. I don't want to be involved in politics. Do you think he should have taken more of a Muhammad Ali approach?
Well, it's not about taking the Muhammad Ali approach and that he just focus on the game, because that's not entirely true. I mean, there's been situations where he did involve himself in politics, which is something they never talked about. I mean, he has supported congressmen before and a little after that situation, so he has done it. It wasn't like he was only focused on basketball and because of that he didn't do it, which was the narrative they were trying to play. When
Yeah, but
actually, like, even around the Last Dance era, like about around that year or so, he was already contributing to political donations and and actually, like, being there. He just didn't do it at that time, maybe because he felt that he wasn't there yet, where he
mm,
can do what he wants without repercussions, which he does now openly. Well,
yeah.
obviously, because he has ultimate power now. I mean, nobody can really stop him from doing anything.
Do you think that like what that happened in like what 93, 92 was the Jesse
Something.
Helms thing,
Yeah,
and he
around that.
was kind of still new, like he was a huge star, but he wasn't like
I mean,
now.
92, in my opinion, 92 was the apex of his
Yeah,
fame. And I feel that maybe he didn't want anything to contribute to that downfall, which would eventually happen with the whole gambling stuff.
yeah,
And I feel that's probably why he started doing more politics after that incident, because maybe he just felt, where if you're gonna do this to me, after all I've done and trying to keep my nose clean, if you're gonna do this to me over gambling, I might as well just do what I want to do anyway.
Yeah. Do you know if like did Jordan have final say on this doc on the Last Dance?
He, Jordan didn't only just have final say. Uh, he owned all of the videotape that was shown.
Ah,
He
okay.
owned all of it. There's a reason that it was never done. Like they made the video, the scenes that you saw when they're in the locker room and whatnot. All of
97
that,
and 98.
yeah, all of that was done. Uh, Jordan asking for it because he felt that eventually he would want a document of his like life and career. So he had that saved, and he didn't even think about getting it made till LeBron James won his only championship with Cleveland, and then he felt then he called the man who directed The Last Dance.
Mm-hmm.
He called them and was like, okay, now let's start making the documentary. I'm gonna send you all the scenes and video that I have, and we could start making it because he was getting concerned where the ESPN narrative that now that LeBron James won a title for Cleveland, that somehow that made him the greatest. And you know,
Hmm.
if you know anything about Michael Jordan, if you know
Yeah.
anything about Michael Jordan, if he even hears a rumor about that, he's gonna go on attack. Even now, he will never change in that
So
sense.
this whole documentary was an attack on LeBron winning in
I w-
Cleveland.
no, no, I wouldn't say it was an attack on LeBron. I would say it was more uh, a, it was to remind people
Yeah.
who he is, because the only reason people even think LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan is simple. It's because they never saw Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Because
I
most of the
agree.
kids that grew up in the LeBron generation weren't even born, and if they were born, they were far too young to know what they were watching when they watched Michael Jordan.
Yeah. So he was basically repositioning himself as the king of basketball.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
that's smart. Cool. All right. Wow. This is great. Well, I was gonna, now, what, like, for you, what did Jordan mean to you, like, growing up? I mean, did you have a jersey? Like, what did you
Oh,
have Air Jordans?
I had the Jordans. I had the shirt.
Yeah.
Uh, I had the hat. Of course, I had the jersey. I was a huge like. I didn't really like basketball back then. Um,
Really?
yeah, like when I was a kid and like when I was 5 and 6 and 7, I didn't like sports. I didn't like wrestling. I didn't. The only thing I really liked as a kid outside of cartoons and whatnot was probably boxing, just because of Mike Tyson. Um, and
Really? At
Michael,
5? At
yeah.
5, you like Mike Tyson? Wow.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, I grew up in a Dominican household,
Yeah.
and they're always big into boxing, so you just see this man destroy people.
Yes.
It's fun. And I also liked Michael Jordan. I did not like basketball, but if Michael Jordan was playing, I would watch. Because when you saw Michael Jordan, you saw something that wasn't basketball. It like he was beyond basketball. Even
Mm.
what he did in the court was beyond what people even understood basketball to be. He was different than every other person, not just as a character outside of basketball. Even in the court, you never saw anything like him.
Yeah, I agree. What Air Jordans did you have? I'm just curious.
I think the first Jordans I got were the fours. I think,
Really? 4.
yeah,
The 2 I got were I had 12 and 13. And you can see 13 in there when he's got the bat,
yeah,
he's swinging the bat and he's
with the
going like,
cigar.
yeah, he's upset about
if if
the
any
point.
if anybody ever needs a photo that perfectly shows off who Michael Jordan is as a person. Is that photo with the cigar and the bat, and then him doing the little swing, saying, "Oh, okay."
All right, don't curse.
I didn't.
I know you about to.
But yeah, I mean, those were. I remember in school you needed to have a pair of Jordans. If you didn't have Jordans, I mean, people would say your shoes were from Payless. It was like that's how it was. I mean,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I remember it. I mean, it wasn't like everybody had them because I went to like a small Christian school, so we didn't really have that. But like, I was such a huge Jordan fan. You know, when I saw them, I'm like, I have to have these. And
I
I
mean,
mean,
but
looking back at them, they're like kind of ugly shoes. I kind of like. I like 13 still. That had an interesting design to them, but like
I I
um,
love the 11s. Those are my favorites. Is the 11s.
the
The
11. That's right
yeah,
before. Yeah, I got.
the black and white ones. Because
Mm.
they look so cool with the patented leather.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No, I mean,
remember I actually bought my little brother those shoes. Cost me $450.
wow. Man, you're a good brother.
Yeah, man.
You are a good brother. That is awesome.
And I'm not even Carl Anderson.
um, One of the things I think that's really interesting about Jordan, and this is really smart marketing, is that now they go back and they redo the shoes. Like they go back to one, two, three, you know, through the shoes that he had in his career and re-release them. And
And release new colorways too.
yeah, I mean that's a smart. I mean, like so he's not only just profiting off of like that time. Now he's going back to that shoe and reintroducing it into a different way. I just thought I'm like that is a smart marketing move. I don't know. Do they do that? Does anybody else do that?
Well, no, because there's nobody else that can do that. I mean,
Mm, yeah.
yeah, we can say that like Jordan is going back to like re-release, but the reason that they sell the way they sell, I mean, obviously they look good or whatever, but more than anything else, it's because it's a representation of greatness, because
Mm,
it's a representation of what Jordan can do in the basketball court. You know, like even he says it, like if he played like garbage,
yeah.
nobody would buy the shoes. You know,
Like does Shaq? Like I
even
imagine he's still the number one seller in shoes in some ways.
who
Jordan,
he, in some ways, in every way,
even
in
now.
every way, I'm gonna tell you right now, Justin, in every single way, he is still the most paid basketball player in the world, over LeBron, over Steph Curry, over Kevin Durant. He is
Yeah.
still the most paid basketball player, and he's not even a player anymore.
Does anybody even come close?
I mean, LeBron, but I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to call it close,
Okay. I have my answer. Did you ever do trading cards? Like that was really big when
like I'm gonna put it to you like this, because I just researched it.
mm,
Jordan makes 130 million a year with his deal with Nike, and his
smart
brand
move.
generates over $3 billion a year.
Wow.
Now,
Wow.
to put that in perspective,
That's smart.
LeBron James makes 39 million a year
Yeah.
and
Wow.
makes 52 million in endorsements. So even with what he makes from his playing and endorsements, he doesn't make what Jordan makes.
Is it because he has a better contract or his stuff just sells better?
Well, I mean, obviously Jordan would probably have he owns it that because The Jordan brand is under the Nike umbrella, but the Jordan brand is his company. So yeah, like he makes more because the deal is better. But I mean, honestly, even when he was playing, he was still making more than LeBron. Uh,
Yeah.
the the thing is, when this is how I see it when the comparison between LeBron and Jordan are made. When
Hmm.
Jordan was a player, nobody ate. If you weren't in the Chicago Bulls while Michael Jordan was playing basketball in his prime, you
Yeah.
were not getting a championship. Period.
Yeah.
Nobody but him. And with LeBron, how many teams have not won under his watch? The Spurs have run rush shot. The Celtics won that year. The Lakers won those 2 years. The Dallas Mavericks, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't think LeBron has the competitiveness that Jordan has. Where like you saw in the documentary, where they said he would create things in his mind just to make him play better.
yeah,
I mean, like things
but
that hadn't even happened. Like you could just probably see him sitting there and he's imagining them like somebody just flipping him off or something.
you know
Just
what I
so.
think? I think it's not that LeBron isn't as competitive, is that he doesn't know himself the way Jordan knew himself, in the sense
Mm,
that Jordan knew he needed something extra to get to where he needed to be Michael Jordan as people around him saw him. And a normal person can't do that just on a normal day in, day out, clock in, clock out. You need something extra to
yeah.
motivate you. You need to think, oh man, the front office is trying to take it to me, so I gotta play even better to make sure they don't. This guy said that I can't play. This guy says I'm too old. This guy says that 45 ain't 23. He takes any
Yeah.
example, and sometimes he makes them up because he knows he needs to make something up, tell the press. That way, once you tell the press it's real, and now you got to perform at that level because now the people know.
Yeah. Like I could see Jordan getting upset if somebody gave him like a limp handshake or something. He'd be like, he's like, he didn't respect me.
Yeah, like this is a difference. Like LeBron he tries to control a narrative so that things don't uh, come out, right? And with Jordan, sometimes I feel he would make sure it came out. That way, it could motivate him even more.
That's a good point. Because we have the one of the guys there. I don't know if he was his friend or something, but he talked about how Jordan had this like Zen like presence of being of just always being on and always being
Oh,
present.
I love the quote that one of the coaches from North Carolina said,
Oh yeah,
where
yeah.
uh, Mike
Roy.
Mike Jordan is the only guy who could turn it on and off, and he never turned it off.
I know. That is, yeah, and it's true. And
And
he's still, you know,
I mean,
there's just something
look,
special about him.
look at this. He drafted LaMelo Ball to his team, and the first thing people talk about wasn't LaMelo Ball. It was, is LeVar Ball gonna is LeVar Ball gonna play Michael Jordan in a one-on-one because he was saying that he could beat Michael Jordan, and
Mm.
and if you know Michael Jordan, and I honestly feel that he drafted him just so that LeVar Ball could back down when he comes up and challenges him to a game of ball. Because
Probably, he
that's who
probably.
he is. As a person, that's who he
Yeah.
is. And he doesn't try to like say he's something else. He doesn't try to run away from it. It's who he is.
It's too bad, he doesn't like if Michael Jordan played video games online, I could see him just like that, just dominating his life. He's like, no, I have to beat everybody.
He could never play those
He would
kind of
go insane. He would go insane because everyone would challenge him.
he could never play that kind of game and have fun with it because he knows that in a video game environment, the computer ultimately dictates where things go and what happens. It
Yeah.
depends on like how you press the buttons. With Michael Jordan, if he can't feel it and touch it and hold it, because it, you almost feel that as long as Michael Jordan had his hand on the ball, gravity would be suspended for 5 seconds. The
Yeah.
the laws of physics did not apply to Michael Jordan. So if you have him play like 2K, he would immediately, say, no, this is not realistic because I would make it. I don't care if the
Yeah.
physics wouldn't look right. I would have made it. I know I would because I have.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's all right. Switching gears a little bit here. I want to talk about this man. Please be kind,
Mm.
even though it's going to be very hard to be kind to him. What do you think of Jerry Krause?
Um,
Do you think he should be villainized? I mean, he helped create one of the greatest teams twice, but in some ways, he also destroyed the team. Like, how do you feel about him?
my opinion on Jerry Krause is he's he's probably outside of Jerry West. He's probably the second greatest executive
Hmm.
of all time. Um, it's really not even close. Like only Jerry West can compare it to him. Um, and but ultimately, why he's number two and not the best is because of what you just pointed out. I mean, yeah, he did create a great team and he drafted Scotty and he discovered Phil Jackson and he got Cartwright when the team needed him and he was able to recover when Horace Grant left to Orlando.
Yeah.
He did a lot of good moves, but he wanted more credit than he deserved. He wanted all the credit, but you are in a team with the biggest alpha male in probably sports history, and
Do
you
you
were never gonna get the credit.
do you think that was what the problem was between him and Jordan? Was that Krause wanted to be he didn't want to be in Michael's shadow. He wanted to be like next to him.
He he had the problem that thankfully Scottie Pippen didn't have. Um, Scottie Pippen never had a problem taking the back seat, but Jerry
Mm.
Krause, I don't even think that he wanted to be known as a top dog. I think he just wanted Michael Jordan to like say in public, man, if it wasn't for Jerry Krause, we could never do this. Thank you so much. And that was never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you know this, but in Space Jam, the
Yeah.
villain,
We talked
he
about
face
this.
up Jerry Krause.
I know, and I watched a little bit of that. And I was like, yeah, he looks like Jerry, just the way his pants are up,
Yeah,
so
everything.
high.
It's actually so obvious that because I read the Jordan Rules book, and when I found out reading it, I was like, oh, I don't know why I didn't know that.
So did Jordan just go to like the creators, make, okay, I want you to create the villain and make him more Jerry Krause?
I think it was something like, oh, so who's gonna be the villain? It's like it's a guy like this. Okay,
Make him
hmm.
Jerry
Yeah, it
Krause.
kind of sounds like Jerry Krause. You should maybe like make him look like that.
Which is just hilarious. I mean, do you think anybody could have fixed that relationship between Jordan and Krause? Could they
Of
have ever
course,
found?
Jerry Reinsdorf could have. See,
Mm,
here's the thing. I can't blame Jerry Krause 100% because the fact is, a lot of these problems are put on Jerry Krause, but ultimately it's a decision of Jerry Reinsdorf. Okay, I got something to tell you right here.
Yeah.
Jordan left in 98. Pippen left in 98.
Yeah.
Okay, how many free agents have they signed since 98?
Um,
The only one that ever signed was Dwayne Wade, like 3 years ago. And he only lasted a year and went back to Miami.
so
The
you think that like
uh,
basically Jerry Krause was like the hatchet man who gets all the bad publicity for it, but it's really Jerry Reinsdorf who
well, yeah,
leaves
because think
all the
about
money.
this. Like, think about this for a second. Okay, Jerry Jerry Krause said you could go 82-0, and we're not gonna sign you for next year.
Yeah, and then Jerry Reinsdorf called him back and he said, "Well, you did such a good job with that season. I wanted to give him a chance to come back."
So right there, it tells you the power is in Reinsdorf and it's not in Kraus. The
Mm.
and but the problem was that you have enabled Kraus to think he has this power that he doesn't have. And on top of that, you made everybody in the organization and the player side uncomfortable because of it. For
Mm.
one, Jerry Reinsdorf did not want to re-sign Scottie Pippen, right?
Why? Yeah. Why didn't? Okay. Here's something I want to ask about. With Pippen, why didn't Jordan kind of go to bat for him like he did with like Phil and be like, "Look, if he's not on the team, I'm not playing. I'm not playing." To force them into negotiations when he wanted to renegotiate.
Well, what you're talking about, that's the last year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 97 and 98.
So the problem was that Scottie Pippen signed a bad contract,
Yeah, he
right?
did.
And he signed and this is the difference that people don't get when say, "Oh, why didn't Michael Jordan go to bat for him?" Michael Jordan signed the same exact contract that Scottie Pippen signed. Okay,
Mm.
and 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 he took it, and he was vastly underpaid. This man, I was just talking about that 92 was like the prime,
Yeah.
the dream team. He made $3 million that year from the team.
Mm.
So he was vastly underpaid for most of his career. He only
Yeah.
started getting paid when he returned. Like from 96 to 98, he was getting paid around 30 to 33 million a year, taking a 1 year deal every year to get the max.
So you're
And
talking about
but
Jordan. Okay, so Jordan. Okay, all right. I didn't know that.
so his point of view is, I did that, but I served my contract. I did my deal. And the point of view of him is he knows Jerry Reinsdorf enough to know nothing is gonna make that man change that deal. Because if he didn't do it for Michael Jordan, he's not gonna do it for Scottie Pippen. And
So
that's
I
the
think we're seeing why the Bulls never became another real championship franchise.
this is
Yeah,
exactly what I'm getting to. Anthony Davis, right, is from Chicago and he went to the Lakers. Do you know why he went to the Lakers instead of going to Chicago?
they lowballed him.
No, it's because one franchise has a pristine reputation with their players. They signed Magic Johnson to a lifetime 10-year or 10 or 20-year deal where he made like 5 million a year for like 10 or 20 years, which was ridiculous. And he actually got paid that entire deal.
Yeah.
And in the last few years of Kobe's career, they gave him the max deal, and everybody was complaining, "Oh, how you gonna give him this much money when it's like when it's obvious that he's in decline or leaving?" And it's like, we're paying him this as a thank you for the time he spent with the Lakers. And this is a mindset that has made the Lakers a franchise that makes a LeBron James want to go, that makes an Anthony Davis want to go. And nobody wants to go to Chicago because they know it. There was a quote in the documentary that said you can say Michael Jordan was the
as
did
good
his job
as good at his job as anyone has ever been good at their job.
exactly. And if you know that as a player, and look what they did with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, two of the greatest players of all time, and in Jordan, the greatest player of all time, with the greatest team of all time. And you know that they destroyed that team and they lowballed Jordan and they lowballed Scottie Pippen. What makes you think they will treat you better if you know you will never be that great?
That's a good point. I mean, when you look at, I mean, because Jerry says Reinsdorf, he says that he thinks that if they did another season that they would have commanded too much for for another season. And Michael says, why didn't we could have done 1 year contracts? And he said, look, I've been doing 1 year contracts for a while. So it's basically Jerry doesn't want to open the purse strings to treat the players the way players think they should be treated.
But see, you know what the problem is? Jerry Reinsdorf bought that team for $500,000.
Yeah, they were
Okay,
like nothing.
yeah. Now his team became by far the most profitable team of that era. How can you argue that you're gonna lose money
I
on
know.
a team with Michael Jordan? Like,
It's insane. But
do you really think if he went, it's like, okay, look, you want Max, but Pippin's also gotta want Max. I can't do both. Can one of you? Can Jordan? Can you take a pay cut to pay Pippin more? You really think that Jordan wouldn't have done it just to get another ring?
yeah. Yeah, no, it's a
I
good
have
point. I
no
mean,
doubt in my mind. The man used to give his car, like, because when you won the MVP, they would give you like a car and some prize money or something. And he always gave it to Scottie Pippen every year.
it's like I don't need this.
Yeah, like, come
Give it
on.
give it to your parents.
The reason that he was getting the max deal those years was because he knew in his mind, well, I'm the best player, so I should get paid the most. And it was a principle thing. But if a push came to shove, I have no doubt in my mind, if they truly wanted to extend the team, it could have been done because Michael Jordan would have done whatever possible to make it done. But
Why did they get rid of Rodman afterwards? Just because of money as well?
no, no, no. Well, they never wanted Dennis Rodman on the team, and by they I mean
Proud
Reinsdorf Krause. They
and
didn't
probably
want,
Reinsdorf.
but they did because they knew they had strong leadership in Jordan, Pippen, and Phil Jackson. Specifically, Phil Jackson, because Phil Jackson and Dennis Rodman were like really tight.
Yeah, you see that in the
They're
documentary.
pretty much alike. Phil Jackson with the Knicks was the Dennis Rodman of his generation. People just didn't get him.
Yeah.
So I truly uh, believe that once what they were just they wanted. I think the problem was Jerry Krause probably got into Reinsdorf's head and said, "Imagine how much uh, credit and hype we could get if we could win without Michael Jordan." I think that he actually pitched that to Reinsdorf, and maybe he started to like how that sounded.
Taking away some of the credit from Jordan by having Rodman on there.
No, no, I mean that I felt that the the biggest reason they stopped in '98 is because maybe Reinsdorf deep down inside also wanted to win a title without Michael Jordan, so that
I see what you're saying. Yes. No, I think you hit on a. Although we know the answer to that, and the answer is no.
I mean, look, Even Michael Jordan was saying it. The Cubs have been rebuilding for like 60 years.
Yeah, 42 years, he says.
And yeah, but like it's been like 50 or 60 now.
And everybody laughed, even then,
Yeah.
which is, you know.
And now the Bulls are like the new Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, they really are. Has anyone ever tried to like buy the team away from Reinsdorf?
Um, no,
Similar to like what happened with George Shin
it's
and the
very
Hornets.
hard. It's very hard. No, he outside of him dying, I don't see it being sold. He also owns the White Sox. He owns a bunch of teams. I just don't see it happening. He's made so much money off those teams. The fact is, he still makes money off the NBA now. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Those teams, those franchises, is guaranteed money. You're never gonna lose money off those deals.
Yeah. That's the what do you think they could have won another championship?
Yes, but only for one reason. I think eventually there's a reason nobody has ever won four in a row. It's typically that's their limit. Three in a row normally they can't stretch it past that because you have to remember, um, if you play three postseasons in a row, that's about an extra season in games.
Yeah.
If you go to the finals every season, and this man has been going to the finals for 6 years, that's about 2 to 3 extra seasons. And you got to remember, it's not like the league is now. The league is a lot younger now as opposed to then. Most players back then didn't leave college till the third or fourth year, so it's a completely different element. You
So
know,
it's like so they're like exhausted. So
yeah, yeah. But I believe they could have won in '99 because it was the short, it was the strike season. It was a shortened season. I think it was like 52 games, something like that. So they would have benefited greatly from a shorter season.
interesting, yeah.
And if you look at the team that won, which was the Spurs, um, I think they could have easily beat the Spurs. For one, Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
Uh, he wouldn't have been in that team, I would imagine.
You don't think he would have been on the team?
I don't think he would have gone to the Spurs. I think he would have stayed in the Bulls
Oh, okay, yeah.
If Jordan came.
What's that in the background?
Roommates.
Oh, okay. All right. One thing, do you think he made too many enemies in his career?
What enemies did he make?
I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there. I mean, I don't have any proof or anything to point to it. I'm just throwing this question out.
Well, the there's his Hall of Fame speech where he basically used his Hall of Fame speech to just attack everybody that ever bothered him or pissed him off in any way. Um, he literally just started calling everybody out. Like the second he goes there, he's like, "Who invited Jerry Krause here? Can
Wait, so
somebody?"
they actually invited Jerry Krause when Jordan was getting inducted to the
Well,
NBA
well,
Hall of Fame?
well, yeah, because he he he's a NBA executive at the time. You're automatically invited to all NBA functions.
Wow. Yeah, that must have been an awkward time.
Oh man, it
They
was
don't
just
like each
Jordan
other.
like rallying on Jerry Krause and like the only guy that could defeat the Chicago Bulls.
That's funny. One of the things I liked in the documentary is they talked about how they pretty much had to build a team just to beat the Pistons because they were so physical. What did you think of that?
Well, I don't think they built the team to go against the Pistons as much as they realized what they were weak in. And their biggest weakness was defense, because at the time it's people don't remember this, but at one time people said Jordan couldn't play defense, and that at one time people said you couldn't win with Michael Jordan because all he did was score. As ridiculous as it sounds, there was a time where people thought he was just a scorer, and that
Yeah.
he couldn't do anything to elevate the team. But the biggest deficiencies was uh, aggressive defense. They were still kind of mentally weak because they were still new to it. You could tell anytime that the Pistons would hit them, they would always react. If you react, you lose. And a big one is they didn't have a lot of size. They fixed that with Cartwright.
Mm.
And the biggest reason was they didn't have another scorer outside of Jordan. And then Scottie Pippen started to develop. It wasn't until Scottie Pippen developed that they could really get over the hump, because everybody knew what you had to do against the Bulls. You just defend Jordan, you triple team them, you quadruple team them, leave everybody else in the team open. They can't make anything. You don't have to worry about nobody else on the team. Just guard Jordan and don't worry about anything else, and you
Yeah, and
would
that's
win.
what Phil Jackson was talking about. He said, "Look, teams can build a defense against one guy." And that's why
With
he introduced the triangle.
which like the triangle at the time was very innovative. It 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 would make it so that even if it wasn't a Pippen, let's say it was a Tony Kukoc or Horace Grant, uh or even a Bill Paxson, you know a Bill Paxson would be so open because of the triangle and
Mm.
the threat of Jordan and the other corner, that you would have to pass him the ball every now and then, because he is so open and he's such a good sharpshooter that you had to pass it, and that's what that triangle did. And once you had Scottie Pippen fully developed as an all-star, I mean, it was unstoppable, because you had two guys that you needed to pay attention to, and that completely changes the dynamic of a basketball game.
Do you think Scottie Pippen do you think he could have ever been like a Jordan type player, or do you think he was lazy, or do you think he's just the guy that works with the guy?
Well, I will say there was a couple years where he could have been the guy, but he probably could have been the guy in any other team except for the team he was in.
Mm.
It was that, because if you remember in '94, he was second in MVP voting when Jordan left. He
Yeah.
took he took the Bulls to the conference finals, and almost won, you know. But at the same time, you almost won. You didn't win, and a big reason you can argue that they couldn't win is because he sat out when Phil Jackson wanted to give the ball to Tony Kukoc, and after that, I feel like the team kind of quit on him. And when you
Yeah.
have that kind of friction in the team, I don't think you can win a championship that way. And I feel that's the biggest reason why he was better as a Robin. He wasn't
Mm.
a good leader. He was
And that
he.
seems to be the story of him, is that he's or what could have been. Like, he signs that contract to protect his family and everything, so he doesn't want to take a chance of him getting hurt or anything. But then he puts himself in a contract that he can't get out of for like 6 years.
Well, I mean, I understand his point of view at the time, because his family had a really bad
Yeah.
history with injuries.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point.
and at the time, you got to remember the deal he signed at the time was one of the highest paid that year. But
Yeah.
what nobody understood was Michael Jordan was about to explode the NBA.
Mm.
Literally, the contract is like quadrupled in 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. One thing I wanted to talk about, they show really in this documentary is how sensitive Michael Jordan is as like a person, and just like there's the part where he's talking and they're asking him, was he a nice guy, everything, and you can see him kind of like fighting back tears because he's a little, he's upset by that, and at the very end of that episode, he says break. Like he has to sit down. What do you think about that?
Um, honestly, my general feeling of that scene, where he also says like, it's because you never won anything. If you don't
Yeah.
understand this, 'cause you never won anything. I think he was also thinking of, because you got to remember most of like his competitive fervor and everything was instilled to him by his father. So I feel that he probably was thinking a lot about his father while talking about those things. Because I mean, if you read into Jordan, probably the biggest reason for his competitiveness was the manipulation of what his father would do for him and his brothers to try to make them want to outdo the other. And I think he probably was thinking about that during that scene, and that's probably why he got all emotional.
Yeah. Switching to, since you brought up his father and everything, he was killed. They never really go into the murder of his father. Did the killers ever have a motive, or did it just happen like bad happenstance?
Well, the story is that it was two people that were just trying to like take the ride or something. That
Mm.
they
Just
saw
a carjacking?
Yeah, it was just supposed to be a carjacking, and it went awry. I There's a lot of conspiracy theories there.
Mm.
I I don't know about the theories and whatnot. I don't think it was so simple. It's too much coincidence. The father of probably at the time the most famous man in the world
Yeah.
just gets murdered. And I can't. A part of
So you
me,
think there is some
I
motive
think
there?
there's mafia ties to it. I
Hmm.
feel there was some mafia ties to it because
Interesting.
personally, I think I could see a situation where
Like loan
maybe
sharks coming after him?
maybe a situation where maybe somebody in the mafia would suggest to like point shave or lose a game, and he wouldn't do it or something. I could
Do,
see something like that.
do you think his gambling is more than what he makes it out to be with
And what way?
Jordan? What he says he doesn't have a gambling problem. Do you think it's more than what they played up in this documentary?
I feel that it's only a gambling problem if it affects your daily life.
Hmm.
If you're so rich that it doesn't, then it's not a problem. That's how I see it.
How do you think then he got involved with the mob?
Well, he got involved with because he was gambling with what golf hustlers and stuff of that nature,
Hmm.
and I could see that the tie between the mafia and the golf hustler, he could say, okay, don't pay the hustler. How about you just point shave or drop a game? And he would say no,
Yeah, he's
maybe.
not going to do that.
And, and
He's
then,
not doing that.
cause the only thing I know for sure, or I mean, I don't know for sure, but I really strongly suspect is I don't think that it was an accident, and I don't think his retirement was an accident either.
How so?
Well, I mean, his father dies and then he retires. I mean, when you're in the top of the world. I mean, it's too strange.
So you don't believe it when he says, that one guy claims that he told him, you know, like a year ago, what he was going to do. He was going to shock the world. He was going to go play baseball.
No, I think he did that because his father died.
Do you think his because he mentions like his father, wanted him to be a baseball player. Why
Yeah.
do you think he wanted? Is it just like ties to Jackie Robinson? Like what? Why baseball over basketball? Does he ever talked about that?
But yeah, he liked he growing up he liked baseball a lot more than basketball, and
Mm.
so did his father. I mean, they grew up in North Carolina.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That it wasn't like, for example, New York, where there's a basketball court every corner. You know, North Carolina has strong basketball roots, but it was entirely based off Dean Smith and the Tar Heels at that time. So like for a young kid growing up, they wouldn't know or care about that stuff.
Mm. Interesting. All right, one of my last questions here. What did this documentary change your perception of Jordan at all? Did it reinforce it? Did it, go, I didn't know that before, or was it just review?
It
How
was
was it
pretty
for you?
much review. I knew everything that was said there except for the Dennis Rodman trip to Vegas I didn't know about.
Mm.
And I didn't know about Jordan's relationship with Rodman or his closeness to Phil Jackson, honestly. Um, but but that's about it. I pretty much knew everything else. I've read several books about Jordan. I've been a big fan, so I already knew most of that stuff.
All right, interesting. Do you have any final thoughts about it?
I think it just reestablishes that he's the greatest athlete of my lifetime.
I would agree.
And
I would
it's
agree.
honestly, it's not close. And anybody who feels different only feels that way because they never saw it.
Mm.
I was there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't think people realize how good he was, how entertaining he was, how on top of the world he was. Like everyone knew about him. It
And
wasn't just basketball people, it was everybody.
and it was just him.
Yeah,
It's not like now, like there's several basketball players that are like famous, you know.
yeah,
You obviously LeBron, but you got Steph Curry's and you got Kevin Durant, and they're all around that same stratosphere. You know, LeBron's a little bit over them, but it's pretty much the same. With Jordan, it was just Jordan and then
yeah.
everybody else. It
Yeah,
didn't matter.
nobody was talking about like Grant Hill.
Yeah, I mean, they would talk about Grant Hill as the next Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That's how it was. If you were good, they would say, "Oh, he's gonna be the next Michael Jordan." Like that was it.
That did not happen.
It could have, but injuries got in the way. I mean, Grant Hill was good, man.
No,
But
as a kid, he was one of my favorites. I wrote I did a book report on him.
but this is how I see it. Think about this for 1 second. Uh, Michael Jordan in his first 2 seasons, his scoring averages were like 35, 37 points a game, which was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now he gets injured in his ankle and comes back like nothing. If you really think about it, some of the best players like the Penny Hardaways, who my brother's named after, had was started off fantastic and looked like he was going to be a star, and then got hurt in the ankle, and he was never the same again. Grant Hill got hurt all around the legs, was never the same again. if you think about it, the only player I could think of, there's probably only two, and it's Jordan and Kobe Bryant. The second they got hurt once, they changed their game so that their game wasn't dependent on just speed.
Yeah. Do you think the other guys just didn't have it in them to do that, to change it around?
I
Or
don't
did
think
they?
they understood the game the way they did.
Good
Because
point.
Michael Jordan studied the game and Kobe at a level that just isn't normal, and especially for men that make that much money and that famous and are that busy. They dedicated so much time to it. They try to, like, think about how even people that talk about, oh, the Wizards Jordan dropped 45 points.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as an old man, he was dropping 40 points.
Yeah.
Okay, think of maybe not as frequent as before, but the fact that an old man that
Yeah.
age do that tells you he understands the game in a way that normal people just don't.
Do you think? Yeah. Closing on this. This has nothing to do with the Last Dance, but you brought it up. What do you think of the Wizards' run?
I think ultimately it puts a stain in his legacy
Yeah.
because his legacy was that of perfection
Yeah.
and
It was.
dominance, and the Wizards run was the run of, oh, a returning player comes back and he's pretty good, but pretty good to the greatest is is a stain. I mean,
Why
there's
did he? Why did he do it? Why did he come back?
uh I think personally, I think that
He
you
wanted
know
seven.
like I don't know if you remember a story of when a guy got drafted to the Bulls, and then, like, when he got drafted to the Bulls, he started saying that I can't wait to see Michael Jordan, and I would bust his what in the court, and
Yeah.
this was a rookie in '99. Okay,
Well, there you go. That's all he needed.
yeah, so Jordan comes back in 2000 to like the jump shorts, and just said, so where's this guy? Let's play. And he beat him like 21 zip or
Wow.
20 21 2 or something like
Just
that.
playing one on one.
Yeah, playing one on one. He destroyed him 2 years after he retired.
So what he
So
saw was he was still really good. So I guess he wanted to
yeah, I think
that.
his feeling was maybe that he felt he was still better than most of the league, but to a fan, it wasn't about you being better than most. It's about you
Yeah.
being the best. You had it.
Do
If
you
it was
think he
any
wanted?
other player, like if it was a regular player that came back, a Karl Malone, a Charles Barkley, nobody would have said anything. They would have been impressed. They would have said, "Oh, great, he did 40 points. That's amazing for his age."
But
But
it's
when you're
Jordan.
talking,
But it's Jordan.
but it's
And that's
Jordan,
it's
and
different.
if anything less, if you don't win a ring, it don't mean a thing.
Do you think he wanted? Do you think he wanted to get like? Do you think he was hoping for like eight, and he was going to retire at that?
I think at the very least he was hoping for seven. I really think he wanted to play that 99 year.
Yeah.
But I honestly feel that 99 would have been his last possible run. The only other way was what people were thinking at the time. I don't know if you knew this, but there was a lot of people thinking that when the Lakers signed Phil Jackson, that Michael Jordan
Mm.
was going to go to the Lakers. People
Yeah.
actually
Yeah. I
thought
did.
that. So, imagine that. Oh my God.
Why didn't he do that? Why did he go? Why did he choose the Wizards?
Well, he owned the Wizards. That's why he
Oh
chose.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's why he picked the Wizards because he owned.
Right.
That's
It's
the
my
only reason.
moves. I
Um,
own the
I
team.
I don't. A part of me, I don't think that it would have been a good look because part of his legacy is really the Bulls and winning your titles. I mean, the Wizard kind of stained that anyway. So I guess you can argue that it would have been better off if he just went to the Lakers and gone
Yeah.
to the Wizards. But I would argue that it might have diminished Kobe's ascension.
No, it definitely would have done that.
You know, so I think everything happens for a reason. So
All right. Well, this is good. We went an hour. I mean, I said this already. Any final thoughts? But I think we've hit everything. So, how can people reach you?
um, you could email me at majorsonsd@gmail.com, or you could check me on Facebook as Charles Delrose. Um, I don't really do much social media, so yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you for coming on, and yeah, thanks for doing the interview, and I'll see you next time.
Well, there you have it. That is my interview with Charles Delrose on The Last Dance. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank Charles Delrose for doing this interview. I hope to have him back for many more episodes. And yes, I'm sorry about some of the technical difficulties. We had some unruly guests, so at times there was nothing we could do. I could re-record it, but I felt we had such a great interview, I wanted to just keep going with it. I want to apologize for some of the other audio problems because I had to clip some of the things, so it might sound a little out of place. That's why I kind of cut that commercial in between. So yes, so I want to say thank you for listening. As always, you can reach me at my handle, at Justin Yachts. And I will see you next time on the DMF.